Why some people don't care about sports, the psychology behind it. You know that moment at a party when everyone suddenly stops talking because the game is on? Someone turns up the TV. People lean forward on the couch. A few people are shouting instructions at players who obviously cannot hear them. And then there's you, standing there, checking your phone, looking around the room, quietly wondering when it would be socially acceptable to leave without looking rude. Meanwhile, everyone else in the room is emotionally invested in what is happening on that screen. 11 strangers are running after a ball. And somehow, the people around you are celebrating, yelling, arguing, or even getting angry about it. If you've ever experienced this moment, you might have asked yourself a strange question. Why does everyone care so much, and why don't I? Millions of people around the world feel deep emotional highs and lows because of sports. But there is also a massive group of people who simply don't care. And here's the interesting part. According to neuroscience and psychology, people who don't care about sports might actually have brains that work a little differently. Not worse, not better, just different. And once you understand the psychology behind it, something surprising happens. You stop feeling like the odd one out. Instead, you start realizing something fascinating about how your mind works. So today we're going to explore something science has recently begun to understand. Why some people feel deeply connected to sports, and why others feel absolutely nothing. First, let's talk about human tribes. For thousands of years, humans survived by belonging to groups. Your tribe protected you. Your tribe hunted with you. Your tribe shared food with you. If you were part of the group, you had safety. If you were rejected by the group, survival became very difficult. So over time, the human brain evolved a powerful instinct, the need to belong. This instinct is still inside us today. But instead of tribes living in forests or villages, modern society created new types of tribes. Political groups, music fandoms, online communities, and one of the most powerful modern tribes, sports teams. When someone says, "We won the match," they are not literally part of the team, but psychologically, their brain feels like they are. When their team scores a goal, something fascinating happens inside their brain. The brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone released when people hug loved ones, bond with friends, or feel deep trust. Watching sports together literally creates a chemical bonding experience. Fans are not just watching a game. They are strengthening social bonds with everyone around them. That's why stadiums feel electric. That's why fans hug strangers when their team wins. That's why people feel connected to complete strangers just because they support the same club. But here's the key detail. Not every brain responds to tribal belonging the same way. Some people have extremely strong tribal instincts. Others have much weaker ones. And if you are someone who doesn't care about sports, it might simply mean your brain does not rely as heavily on group identity to feel connected. You don't need a team jersey to feel like you belong somewhere. Your brain finds connection in other ways. Now let's talk about dopamine. Dopamine is one of the most important chemicals in the brain. It's often called the reward chemical. But dopamine is not just about pleasure. It's actually about anticipation. Your brain releases dopamine when something exciting might happen. And sports are basically a dopamine machine. Think about it. Every few seconds, something unpredictable happens. Will they score? Will they miss? Will the referee make a controversial call? Will the underdog win? Your brain loves unpredictability. In fact, uncertainty is one of the strongest triggers for dopamine release. It's the same mechanism used in gambling. Slot machines work because your brain gets addicted to the possibility of winning. Sports create the same effect. Every unexpected moment creates a dopamine spike. That last-second goal, that buzzer-beater shot, that unbelievable comeback. Those moments create huge dopamine surges for fans. But here's where things get interesting. Not everyone's dopamine system responds the same way. Research involving a gene known as DRD2 suggests that some people naturally have lower dopamine sensitivity. This means their brains are harder to stimulate with simple reward triggers. In other words, their brains require deeper or more meaningful stimulation to feel the same excitement others feel from smaller events. So when someone like that watches a sports game, their brain might simply say, "That's it. That's what we're excited about." It's not that they're boring. It's that their reward system is more selective. The psychology of borrowed glory. Psychologists have identified something called basking in reflected glory, often shortened to burgeoning. This happens when people attach their identity to a successful group. When the group wins, they feel like they personally won. You can see this clearly in how fans talk. After a victory, they say, "We won." But after a loss, they say, "They lost." Psychologist Robert Cialdini studied this behavior and found that people literally change the language they use depending on whether the team wins or loses. Why? Because the brain protects its identity. Victory becomes shared pride. Failure becomes distance. But for people who don't care about sports, this identity fusion never really happens. They watch fans celebrating and wonder, why are you celebrating? You didn't play the game. To them, it's just entertainment. Not identity. Not personal victory. Just a game. The idea of emotional energy. Here's something many people never realize. Your emotional energy is limited. Every person only has so much empathy, attention, and emotional investment to give. So the brain constantly chooses where to spend it. One person might invest their emotions in sports. Another might invest them in family. Another in creative work. Another in social issues. Someone once explained it like this. I realized I didn't lack empathy. I just spent it differently. They cared deeply about friends going through real problems. They cared about helping people. They cared about their work and their dreams. But watching strangers lose a football match simply didn't trigger emotional investment. And that's not cold. It's selective caring. Childhood experiences also matter. Sometimes the reason someone doesn't care about sports has nothing to do with biology. It can come from experience. Maybe they were never interested in sports growing up. Maybe they felt excluded during school games. Maybe they were pressured to pretend they liked sports just to fit in. Over time, the brain learns what feels meaningful and what feels forced. If sports never created positive emotional experiences, the brain simply doesn't assign importance to it. Instead, it invests attention somewhere else. Where meaning comes from. Here's the most important part. Sports fans are not just watching games. They are finding meaning. They feel part of something bigger. They share rituals. They experience collective emotion. But if you don't care about sports, you're not missing out on meaning. You're just finding it somewhere else. Maybe in your work. Maybe in creativity. Maybe in building relationships. Maybe in learning new things. Maybe in quiet reflection. The human brain needs meaning. But it does not dictate where that meaning must come from. Sports is simply one very visible way people find it. A different kind of mind. People who don't care about sports often have something interesting in common. They tend to invest deeply in fewer things. Instead of spreading emotional energy across many social experiences, they often focus intensely on a smaller number of passions. This could be ideas, technology, art, storytelling, business, learning, helping others. Their passion just shows up in different places. And because society often celebrates sports culture very loudly, people sometimes assume those who don't participate are less passionate. But that's rarely true. Their passion is simply directed differently. Try this experiment. If you've ever felt strange for not caring about sports, try something simple. Take a moment and map your empathy. Ask yourself, what things truly move me emotionally? What topics make me curious? What kind of conversations excite me? What problems in the world do I care about? What activities make me lose track of time? When you answer those questions honestly, something powerful happens. You start to see where your emotional energy actually goes. And once you see it clearly, you stop comparing your interests to everyone else's. The truth. At the beginning of this video, we asked a simple question. Why do some people care deeply about sports while others feel nothing? The answer is not that one group is better. It's that human brains are wired differently. Some brains crave tribal identity. Some crave intellectual stimulation. Some crave competition. Some crave creativity. Some crave connection through shared experiences. Others crave meaning through personal exploration. None of these are wrong. They are simply different ways of being human. So if you ever find yourself at a party where everyone is screaming at a television, and you're quietly wondering why it matters so much, remember this. Your brain isn't broken. You're not cold. You're not missing something. Your mind is simply selective. Your empathy is directed elsewhere. And the meaning you're searching for, you're finding it in places that matter to you. And that might be the most interesting thing about you. So if sports don't excite you the way they excite everyone else, there's nothing wrong with you. Your brain may simply be wired to seek meaning, excitement, and connection in different ways. Because in the end, psychology shows us something important. Human minds are incredibly diverse. What excites one person may feel meaningless to another. and that's completely normal. The real question is not why you don't care about sports, but what does make your brain come alive? This is psychology, exploring the hidden patterns behind human behavior. And if you're curious about how the mind really works, subscribe for more videos like this.